Aryan scrolled through the dark web. He navigated its hidden corners with practiced ease. His fingers danced across the keyboard, a digital phantom himself. Tonight, he stumbled upon something new. An old forum, forgotten by time, flickered to life. It called itself GhostNet. Intrigued, Aryan delved deeper. The forum was a relic, a digital graveyard of forgotten usernames and cryptic messages. One post caught his eye. It was from a user named 0day_404. The subject line sent a chill down his spine. Project Nexus, still vulnerable. Aryan's heart skipped a beat. Project Nexus was ancient history. It was a cloud storage service shut down years ago after a series of security breaches. He thought it was nothing more than a cautionary tale. 0day_404 claimed an unpatched vulnerability still existed, a backdoor hidden in the dead code. Curiosity piqued. Aryan opened the post. A single line of text greeted him. The ghosts of data past never truly die. Below it, a string of encrypted code, a challenge. The encrypted code felt like a siren song. It whispered promises of secrets, of forbidden knowledge. Aryan, unable to resist, got to work. He spent hours deciphering the message. His fingers flew across the keyboard, a symphony of clicks and clacks. The code, complex and layered, slowly began to unravel. He discovered it was a set of instructions, a map leading to the heart of Project Nexus's defunct system. With each line of code he cracked, the truth became clearer. 0day_404 wasn't lying. A vulnerability did exist, a backdoor hidden in plain sight. A knot of unease tightened in Aryan's stomach. This wasn't just some harmless bug. This was a ticking time bomb. If exploited, it could grant access to a treasure trove of sensitive data. Data that was supposed to be long gone. Data that could be used for malicious purposes. He had to do something. He had to alert someone. But who? Project Nexus was officially dead and buried. Who would believe him? He was just a lone hacker, a ghost in the machine. Aryan tried to ignore the growing sense of dread. He knew he should walk away, pretend he never saw the post. But the ethical hacker in him wouldn't allow it. He had to know more. He had to understand the motive behind 0day_404's cryptic warning. He dove deeper into the rabbit hole, scouring the internet for any mention of Project Nexus. He found scraps of information, old news articles and forgotten forum posts. The more he learned, the more convinced he became. This was bigger than he initially thought. As he pieced together the puzzle, he started receiving strange messages. Anonymous emails appeared in his inbox. They were warnings, veiled threats, urging him to drop the investigation. Curiosity killed the cat, one read. Another simply said, "Turn back while you still can." Fear gnawed at him, but his resolve hardened. He wouldn't be intimidated. He was onto something important, something dangerous. He wouldn't back down, not now, not when so much was at stake. Aryan knew he couldn't do this alone. He needed help. He reached out to Ria, a fellow hacker and trusted friend. He explained his findings, his voice a hushed whisper in the dimly lit room. Her eyes widened as he spoke, a mixture of concern and excitement flickering across her face. 0day_404, Project Nexus. This is huge, she said, her voice barely a whisper. But why tell you? Why risk exposure? Aryan shrugged. That's what I'm trying to find out. They decided to trace 0day_404's digital footprint. Hours turned into days as they followed a trail of breadcrumbs across the dark web. Finally, they got a hit. A location. A dingy cyber cafe tucked away in the city's underbelly. The air hung heavy with the smell of stale coffee and cigarette smoke as they entered the cafe. A motley crew of individuals huddled over their computers, their faces illuminated by the cold glow of the monitors. Aryan scanned the room, his eyes searching for any sign, any clue that could lead them to 0day_404. And then he saw it. A single sticker on a laptop, a black skull with a green circuit board pattern, the symbol of a notorious hacking group. A surge of adrenaline shot through Aryan. He recognized the symbol. It belonged to the Digital Phantoms, a group infamous for their exploits in the early days of the internet. They were believed to have disbanded years ago. Had they resurfaced? Was 0day_404 one of them? He exchanged a nervous glance with Ria. They needed to get closer, to get a look at the laptop's screen. They pretended to be customers, ordering coffee they didn't want, their eyes glued to the target. As the hacker typed, A QR code flashed on his screen for a split second. Aryan, ever vigilant, managed to snag a photo with his phone. It was a long shot, but it was all they had. They hurried out of the cafe, their hearts pounding in their chests. Once safely back at Aryan's apartment, they huddled around his computer. He uploaded the photo, the image grainy and distorted. He ran it through his decryption software, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The software whirred and beeped, struggling to make sense of the corrupted image. Finally, with a triumphant beep, the QR code resolved itself. A message materialized on the screen, a single line of text. Project Chimera. They're coming back. Before either of them could process the message, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence. Ria jumped back, her eyes wide with terror. Aryan whirled around to face his computer, his heart sinking to the pit of his stomach. His screen flickered erratically, displaying a jumbled mess of code and garbled images. A deep, distorted voice boomed from the speakers. "You shouldn't have seen that," it hissed, the sound sending chills down their spines. Aryan's blood ran cold. He had been hacked, completely and utterly compromised. His defenses, once impenetrable, had been breached with terrifying ease. He felt a wave of nausea wash over him as he realized the extent of the intrusion. They were watching him, listening to him. Every keystroke, every mouse click, every file, every secret he thought was safe, was now laid bare before them. He felt a surge of panic rising in his chest, threatening to consume him. "Who are you?" Aryan choked out, his voice barely a whisper. The room seemed to close in on him, the air thick with fear and uncertainty. He felt a cold sweat break out on his skin. The voice chuckled, a chilling, hollow sound that echoed through the room. "You can call me 0day_404, it said, the words dripping with malice. "And we don't appreciate being followed." A wave of dizziness washed over Aryan. The room spun, his vision blurring at the edges. He gripped the edge of the desk, trying to steady himself. "What do you want?" Ria's voice, sharp and steady, cut through the haze of fear that threatened to engulf them. "A simple trade," 0day_404 replied, his voice smooth and insidious. "Your silence for your freedom. Delete everything you have on Project Nexus, forget you ever saw that QR code, and we disappear. Continue down this path, and there will be consequences." The threat hung heavy in the air, a promise of retribution. Aryan felt a surge of anger mixed with fear. He had stumbled onto something big, something dangerous, and now his life and Ria's hung precariously in the balance. A heavy silence descended upon the room. The weight of the situation pressed down on Aryan, threatening to crush him. He glanced at Ria, her face pale but resolute. He could see the fear in her eyes, but also the unwavering determination. She was with him, no matter what he decided. He knew he was at a crossroads. He could choose to protect himself, to disappear into the digital ether and try to forget everything he had learned. But the truth, once glimpsed, could not be unseen. He knew that if he stayed silent, countless lives could be affected. The image of the QR code, the message it carried, flashed in his mind. Project Chimera, what was it? And what did it have to do with Project Nexus? Questions swirled in his head, demanding answers. He drew a deep breath, steeling himself for what he had to do. He couldn't let fear paralyze him. He had to act. He had to make a choice. "I'm not afraid of you," Aryan said, his voice trembling slightly. "I won't be silenced." The laughter that erupted from the speakers was cold and devoid of humor. "A brave soul," 0day_404 sneered, "but bravery won't save you." The line went dead. The screen went black, leaving Aryan and Ria in stunned silence. The air crackled with tension, the silence deafening after the chilling encounter. A new message blinked on the screen. An email from 0day_404. "You've made a powerful enemy tonight," it read. "But perhaps you can still redeem yourself. I've left you a puzzle. Solve it, and you might just survive. Fail, and face the consequences." Attached was a single file, a seemingly impossible encrypted puzzle. A timer appeared on the screen, counting down from 24 hours. Aryan's heart pounded in his chest. He had just been handed a challenge, a lifeline, and a death sentence all rolled into one. He had 24 hours to crack the code, to expose the truth, and to save himself. The clock was ticking.